Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and we're back with another SATs video. Let's take a look at a whole range of different questions that include money. Now, money isn't something that appears in just one aspect, if that makes sense, because money is decimal. Because we have decimal questions, £1.25. Money can be to do with conversion because we're going from pence to pounds. Money can be multiplication, addition, subtraction, any of the four operations. So there's lots of different types of questions we can get using money. Let's take a look at a whole bunch of them here and how to solve them from previous SATs papers, getting ready for those future ones. This table shows the cost of fruit at a school cafeteria. We have the fruit and the cost for one. Amir buys 2 pieces of fruit. He pays with a £2 coin and he gets £1.50 change. Tick the 2 pieces of fruit that Amir buys. Now, every time we go through a question here, feel free to stop and have a go yourself, but I'm going to dive straight into solving it. He pays with a £2 coin, okay, and he gets £1.50 change. That means that the difference between £2 and his change, which is £1.50, will be the amount that he spent. Now, we could use column method here, or you could count on from 150 to know that must just be 50p. So we know that 2 pieces of fruit that Amir bought add up to 50 pence. Now we're going to be looking for which to do that. If you look in the ones column, we've got an 8, a 2, a 3, and a 2. If we know that 2 pieces of fruit have to add up to 50 pence with a 0 in the ones column, it can't be 23p. And the reason is because 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 plus 2 is 5, 3 plus 8 is 11. It will never end in a 0. So it's not plum. Get rid of it. Now, out of the remaining 2, which of them add up to 50p? And we can see straight away it's going to be a 2 and an 8. But is it 32 and 38? No, that's way too much, which leaves us with a banana at 12p and a pear at 38p. Adds up to 50 pence, and the difference gives us £2 with the change. Chen pays for the 4 items above, which we can see listed, with a £10 note. This was in a recent SATs paper, and it really got people annoyed. I'll tell you why in a second. See if you can figure it out. The price of the butter is not shown. She receives £3.85 change. What is the price of the butter? Now, have you noticed what really annoyed people about this question yet? Well, it's the fact that it gives you how much they weigh. Because this information is not needed at all. It's a complete red herring. You will never ever use the information for grams to answer this question. But in the simple version of the question we just looked at, we have an amount paid, £2, and change £1.50. We had to do something with that first to figure out how much was spent. Well, that's what we have to do here. Chen pays for all 4 items with a £10 note and receives £3.85 change. So we can figure out what the difference is to get the amount that all 4 cost. There's a few ways we could do this. Again, you could do column method, but you're going to have to exchange over lots of zeros to get to be able to subtract £3.85. Okay, you can do that. That's fine. I like to use a bit of a number line because it just helps me do it mentally. Now I'd be doing this in my head, but there's nothing wrong with writing it down too to make sure. I want to get to £3.85 up to £10. Well, I'm going to jump to the next pound, which is £4, and I know there are 100 pence in a pound, so this is 15p. Then to jump from £4 to £10, that's a nice whole number, we've got £6. So that means the entire amount of food, all 4 items, equal £6 and 15 pence. Now, how do we figure out the cost of the butter? Well, simple. We take away the apples, take away the bread, and take away the wheat OTs, or the cereal, if you want to call it that. So let's add them up first to find out their total. We've got £1.50 for the apples. We have 70 pence for the bread and £1.45 for the cereal. And let's add those up. We have 5 in the ones column. 5 plus 7 is 12, plus 4 is 16. Down here. Let's see now. Where do we have to put that decimal? Do you know? Yeah, of course, it has to go down there. Button up the shirt, is like I always say. The decimals don't move. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So we have £3.65 is the total of the other 3 items. So that means if I were to draw a little bar model just to show this, £3.65 is the cost of the other 3 items. We have something left over, which will be the cost of the butter. And that in total was £6.15. So the final step here, we need to take our £6.15 and subtract the cost of the other 3 items, £3.65, and we're going to get the cost of the butter. 5 take away 5 is 0, 1 take away 6, we need to do some exchanging here. 11 take 6 is 5, decimal goes in, 5 take away 3 is 2, so the butter was £2.50. Now, what I wanted to show you here was compared to the first question, and the second question, they're quite similar in how they start off. They're all to do with money, but I'd say this question is much trickier, has more steps to answer, to solve rather, and to get to your answer is harder. So just because it's money doesn't mean we can equate all the questions. You're going to get easier and harder questions. It's not going to be as simple as just, oh, let's learn money and you can do all the money questions. Doesn't quite work like that. So Jack buys milk and orange juice from a shop. Lots of purchasing going on here. He pays with a £5 note. Again, we're looking at change. A big thing you have to figure out and do a lot in these SATs papers is work out change from a pound note, whether it's 5 or 10 or sometimes a coin, like a £2 coin. So how much change does Jack get? Well, this is hopefully a more straightforward one. Let's figure out how much he spent first. He spent £1.45 on milk and £2.40 on orange juice. The total there is going to be £3.85. Now, if you paid with a £5 note, which is this information here, how much change does he get? Again, you could do column method, £5 take away £3.85 if you're confident with that. Again, I'm going to be doing my number line because I'm just more confident with this method. There are multiple methods to get to answers in maths. This is going to jump up to £4 and that's 15p. And then if I want to jump up to the next pound, which is 5, that's just £1. £1. So the answer here is £1. And again, look, if you do anything like this, you can either rub it out or just put a line through it and write it again clearly. £1.15. The last thing we want is to do amazing maths and we write our answer, it to be so scruffy that the person marking it can't even see it. Let's take a look at another one here then. Layla wants to buy a camera that costs £65. For the first 10 weeks, she saves £2 each week. Then she saves £3 each week. How many weeks altogether does it take Layla to save £65? Now, this is an example of a question where it's completely different to the ones we've looked at so far. So far, I've been focusing on buying something, adding it up, working out change. That's one aspect of money. Here's a completely different aspect. Repeated addition, saving up to an amount. So let's work out the first 10 weeks first. For the first 10 weeks, it's £2 a week. So that's £20. So after 10 weeks, she has saved £20. That means that she needs to have another £45 to get to her target. How many weeks will that take if she saves £3 each week? Well, here's what we can do. Do 45 divided by £3. That will tell us how many weeks we need. 3's into 4 go once with 1 left over. 3's into 15 go 5 times. Therefore, this will take her 15 weeks to save up. If we add up those weeks now, it takes her 10 weeks to save £20, 15 weeks to save £45 at the new rate of £3 a week. That's going to take her in total 25 weeks. Completely different way of working out this question. Completely different method to previous ones, but still about money. This is why money can be a tricky topic. Let's look at another example then. A band holds a concert for charity. The tickets cost £27 each, and they sell 635 of them. They pay £3,180 to use the hall. They give 1/3 of the remaining amount to charity. How much money does the band give to charity? We have to do a lot of work to end up at this answer here, okay? We're going to have to do loads. So let's do it. Let's get there. A band holds a concert for charity. The tickets cost £27 each. Okay, that's going to be important. And they sell 635. Okay, I need to figure out how much money they took in. And that's going to be 635 tickets multiplied by £27 per ticket. So let's do that first. And this is classic long multiplication. So we're going to times by 7 in the top row and then multiply by 20 in the bottom row. Let's start with the 7. 7 5s are 35. 7 times 3 is 21, but we've got this 3 that we've exchanged, so that's going to be 24. 7 times 6 is 42, plus this 2 here gives us 44. When we multiply by 20, you put a placeholder in for the 0. Now I can just multiply by 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. 2 times 6 is 12. Add these up now for the total amount that they took in. 5 in the 1s, 4 in the 10s, 11 here in the 100s, so exchange over. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7, and the 1 comes down. So they took in £17,145. Notice this is the 3-mark question. That means we've got a lot of steps to get through. They pay £3,180 to use the hall, so we have to take 3,180 away from the total amount they've taken in, because this is the cost to actually get the hall in the first place. So let's do that. 5 take 0 is 5. 4 take away 8 we can't do. So let's do some exchanging here. 14 take away 8 is 6. Again, 0 take away 1. We don't want to go into any negatives. So we're going to take from this column. We've got 10 take away 1 is 9. 6 take away 3 is 3. And the 1 drops down. We're now on 13,965. In a normal question, that's 2 marks. We might be thinking we're done now. But this is not. This is a bumper 3-mark question. The remaining line. They give 1/3 of the remaining amount to charity. And I want to know how much that is. So I need to work out now 1/3 of this amount. Luckily for me, I know how to work out 1/3 because I'm going to divide by 3. It needs to be split into 3 equal parts. Let's do it right now. How many 3s in 1? None. How many 3s into 13? 3, 6, 9, 12. 4 3s with 1 left over. 3s into 19. Well, 6 3s are 18 with 1 left over. 3s into 16. 5 3s are 15 with 1 left over. And look at that. It's going to go perfectly. 3s into 15 go 5 times. So the band gave a grand total of £4,655 to charity. 3 marks, 3 steps, tricky stuff, testing a lot of different strands, isn't it? Here we're testing long multiplication, here we're testing subtraction, here we're testing fractions and division. All of that comes under the umbrella of money. That is why money is such a good thing for the test writers to put into their test, because they can test pretty much anything using money. Kirsty buys 1 litre of apple juice for £1.39. She pays for a £5 note. We're rewinding back to the start of this video. How quickly can you work this one out? I want you to have a go at it yourself. You can pause the video and do that. Again, I'm going to show you now the subtraction method because I've done the number line method a lot. She pays with £5. This is very simple. It's 1 mark. We're going to take away £1.39, which is the cost. I can't do 0 take 9. And I can't exchange from the tens here. So I'm going to go over to the £1 column. Now I've got 10 tens. Exchange there. Now I've got 10 ones. 10 take away 9 is 1. 9 take away 3 is 6. Decimal comes down and we get a 3. 3, 6, 1. If you put this, you might get the mark because you've written the answer here. If you've got a person who's marking your test who reads very carefully the mark scheme and understands the nuances, but you're giving them the chance to mark it wrong. Can you see what I've missed? The answer isn't £361. No, it's £3.61. Make your decimals really clear. These are the prices of some vegetables in a shop. Mushrooms, £3.20 for 1 kilogram. 60p for a kilogram when it comes to carrots. Layla buys 500 grams of mushrooms and 1¼ kilograms of carrots. The perfect example of how money can be used as a vehicle to test other things. In this case, fractions and conversion of units. Layla buys 500 grams. Well, we're giving it in kilograms. So how many mushrooms? Well, 500 grams, we know that 1,000 grams is a kilogram. And 500 is half of that. So we need to do £3.20 divided by 2. You can use bus stop or you can use your halves of 32 to know that it's £1.60. That's how much she spends on mushrooms. 60p for a kilogram of carrots. Okay, well, we've got 1 kilogram. So I can call that 60p because that's 1 kilogram. And now I've got also 1/4 of a kilogram. How do I work out that extra quarter? Well, we take a kilogram and we divide it by 4. 60 divided by 4 gets me 15. So I've got an extra 15 pence for the extra 1/4 kilogram. That means that we have 75 pence spent on carrots. So in total, Layla spends £1.60 plus 75. Let's just whack it into column method to make sure we get this answer. 5 plus 5 is 10. 6 plus 7 is 13, but we've got the 1 at the bottom, so that's 14. Decimal goes in, £2.40. You think we're done, right? No! So many steps to these money questions. We've spent £2.40 and Layla pays with a £5 note. So the last thing we have to do is £5, take away the £2.40 that cost, that the items cost. 0 take away 4, we're going to do some exchanging. 60p, and then in the pounds column we've got 2, and the answer is £2.60 change. So much going on. How different is it to this question? Straight up, what's the change? Cool. Well, here we've got what's the change after having to work with our fractions and our conversions. So the skill level, the difficulty level is crazy when it comes to working with money. Let's look at an offer. This is very common as well to see offers. So buy 1 box for £1.90, get the second box half price. This is real wild stuff. You might go into the shop and see an offer and you need to work out if it's worth it or not. Ali wants to buy 2 boxes of cereal. So how much must he pay altogether? Well, the first box is £1.90. And if we buy a second box, it's half price. So let's take our £1.90 And let's just use the bus stop this time to divide by 2. I can't do that. Decimal goes up. So 2's into 19. Well, I can get to 18. 9 2's are 18 with 1 left over. And then 2's into 10 go 5 times. So that means the second box will be 95p on this deal. And then I need to find the total. 5 in the 1s, 18 in the 10s, exchange over. And we get £2.85 is the total amount. Look again, fractions being tested. Money often comes with different types of strands involved. How about this offer? A full price of a t-shirt is £15. The price is reduced by 30%. Look what we're doing again. We're combining a different strand. This time it's percentages. How do we reduce this price by 30%? Well, this is essentially asking us to do 30% of 15. That'll give us how much it's reduced by. And then we need to find the reduced price. So take it off. 30% of 15. First thing to do, work out 10%. Working out 10% of a number is easy because we just divide it by 10. If 100% of the shirt costs £15, then 10%, divide that by 10, we're going to get £1.50. So 10% is £1.50. This is a 30% reduction. So to get 30%, we multiply 10% by 3. Do the same to the amount down here. £1.50 times 3 is £4.50. So now we know it's reduced by £4.50. That is not the end of the question. The question says, what is the reduced price? So we need to take our £15, take away our £4.50. Oh, look, we're going to have to add some placeholders in the £15, but that's not a problem for us. 0 take away 5. It's not just going to be 5 with no exchanging. We must exchange. 10 take away 5 is 5. 4 take away 4 is 0. The 1 drops down, decimal goes in, and the answer is £10.50. So another type of question we can get with money is those deals. I've got a tricky one coming up. These are my favorite types of question because, again, they use money, but they might as well not. You know, the money isn't really relevant here. It's just about working with decimals, solving a problem. Let's take a look at this one because it is not easy. Adam buys 4 pens and a ruler, and he pays £4.75 altogether. Now, I'm going to do a little note over here. Do we know how much the pen costs each and how much the ruler costs each? Well, the answer is no at the minute. We don't, because it could be almost anything. The ruler could cost £2 something and the pen's 50 odd p. Or the ruler could cost £1 something and the pen's more like 75-ish p. I just don't know. There's 2 unknowns. There's no point trying to work this out at the top yet because we simply would not know. We'd be guessing. However, let's look at the second sentence. Jack buys 2 pens and pays £1.98. This is just pens. There's not 2 unknowns anymore. There's just 1, which is the price of a pen, which is the same for each pen. How much does a ruler cost? Well, I just can't work it out. We've established that. We can't work out how much a ruler costs right now because the top piece of information has 2 unknowns. But do you know what we can do? We can work out something using the second piece of information. We can work out the price of a pen. Now, I know it says what's the price of a ruler, but if we work out the price of the pen, that has a knock-on effect, and then we'll be able to solve the ruler. Let's work out the pen first. So 2 pens are £1.98. Let's put £1.98 down, and let's divide it by 2. Because if we do that, we get the price of 1 pen. 2's into 1 don't go, and the 1 gets exchanged. 2's into 19. Well, the closest we can get is 18, which are 9 2's, with 1 left over. And there, look, there's 18. So that is 9 2's exactly. So each pen, and I can write this down now, is 99p. Or, if we wanted to write an equivalent, we could say 0.9999 with the pound symbol. Now, how does that help me work out the cost of the ruler? Well, if I now know the cost of a pen, I can work out the cost of 4 pens. And if I know how much these 4 pens cost, I can work out how much the ruler cost. So again, let's take our 99p and we're going to multiply it by 4 because we've got 4 pens at the top. 4 9s are 36. And again, 4 9s are 36. But we're going to add on the 3. So we get 39, 396 pence. Or if I'm converting it, I know 100 pence is a pound. So this is going to be £3.96. Now I don't have 2 unknowns anymore. I have just 1 unknown. I have £3.96 plus something, which is the cost of the ruler, equals £4.75. So I can work out the cost of a ruler, finally. I take £4.75. I take away the cost of the 4 pens, which is £3.96. I do a bit of subtraction here. Going to do some exchanging. 15 take away 6 is 9. 6 take away 9, again, I'm going to do some exchanging. 16 take away 9 is 7. And we have no pounds left. So the ruler is 79 pence. Wow. Very convoluted, very tricky, pure problem solving. This is almost like algebra, but just written in a form with pictures and information. Once you work out the pence, this unlocks the first line. You can go back and work out the ruler. What a breadth of questioning money can be in the SATs papers. I hope these questions have really helped you to understand that and see the different types of questions that could come up. It is your turn now. Using the technique that we just spoke through there in the comments down below, can you tell me, if all of this information is true, how much does one rubber cost? See you next time.